Mission accomplished, team. Ma excitedly reached over to grasp Mom's raised hand, thrilled that both of her kids were back.
Good job.
That's right. Liz came closer and yanked open the back door beside her. She popped her head into the car, her smile ornery, despite how tired she appeared. It must have been a long trip for her, yet her expression was that same familiar smirk you had grown up with.
Hey.
Oh wow, look at Liz! She's looking good, girl! I'm digging her outfit too. Looks very Asian-inspired. Hello, children. I'm back. I've missed you. You left. Liz, welcome back. Rude. Oh, hey, old grandparents. Don't... Hey, hey, old grandparent who doesn't have any kids. I'm just gonna say you laughed. Liz nodded at your chuckles, appreciated that you enjoyed her introduction. You smiled at her, you reached over and hugged her, you poked her, you took hold of her hand, you shook her hand. I'm gonna go and hug her. You quickly unbuckled and then launched yourself at your sister. She wrapped her arms around you and squeezed. Well, hi to you too, kiddo. Hello, sweetie. It's so nice that you're here. Hi, Elizabeth. He jokingly huffed at her. We're not children. Whatever you say, baby boy. She turned her gaze back to Mom and Ma. You really know how to make someone feel appreciated. Her spirits were high. You could tell she was just as happy to be here as everyone was to see her. She left the door open, but ducked out to walk around the back of the car. She opened the trunk and lifted her luggage in. I'm gonna move your junk, Hark. I'll keep it in front of my bag so you can get it later. Ma's dropping you off first, right? Yes, but that's not junk. It's important. Liz slammed the trunk closed without responding. Liz swung around to the open door. You noticed that her hair had a few flyaways, no doubt from a long day of traveling. She leaned against the frame of the car, giving you and Cove a significant look. I am not sitting in the middle. I already had 5 hours of that nightmare on the flight. There's no way I'm getting in between the two of you. I mean, really, who would ever want to be the person pulling Cove and Hark Holden Angel apart? Cove puffed up indignantly yet again at her classic tease of your relationship. Liz continued along like she didn't notice.
So?
I don't care how you decide who's scooting. I figure you can fight it out somehow. Cove glanced over at you and shrugged. He unbuckled his seatbelt and moved to the middle. I mean, I typically almost always volunteer to be in the middle because I hardly ever mind, really. So, I tend to be one of the skinnier people in the group. Tend to be. Maybe that's changing soon. Thanks, Cove. I guess I'll always be a big bossy. I'll have a bossy big sister. I'm sorry you're always in the middle, Cove. Some people just must get their way. Good job, I wasn't moving. You stayed quiet. I'll just say thanks, Cove. No problem. I'm almost disappointed it was so easy. I meant it when I said we weren't children anymore. It's just the middle seat. Liz shrugged, not losing any more of her smugness. I feel like Cove would probably be at this point skinnier than I would be. Keep telling yourself that, and I'll keep taking the window seat. I miss my high metabolism. I was one of those, kids, teenagers, college students that you hated because I could eat anything and everything, and I always was a beanpole. Yeah, I was that kid. But you know what? It eventually caught up to me. By the time I hit my 30s, yeah, metabolism just hit a brick wall, and I'm like, nope, can't eat anything I want anymore. And expect to look the same. When everyone was settled, Ma began to pull out.
Let's go.
We're off. Liz crossed her legs, compacting herself slightly. She braced most of her weight on the door behind her instead of sitting up straight. It gave her a little more room. Hopefully we finish the journey. This car is almost as old as we are.
No.
And it looks like everybody else's car. And it's still just as good as you are. All the complaining definitely means Liz is back. We're equivalent to this junker? Hey, I love this old car. You suddenly watch what was happening outside the window. I'll suddenly watch what's outside the window. You saw a plane arriving out in the distance. You wondered where it had come from and imagined what all its passengers were here for. Mom turned up the radio as Mom merged into the highway. The station was familiar, the normal soundtrack for when she had driven you and Liz around town. Liz bounced in her seat and joined the classic tune. The song would be old enough to vote at this point if it were as a person. My gosh, that was hard to believe. With Liz, the conversation livened up despite it getting later and later in the night. She told you all about her week and all the travel preparations she made, but the time she'd made it to the actual tale of travel itself, Liz started chuckling. On the plane, Liz had sat next to a couple of girls who had talked a lot about how well they could read people. Liz recounted their conversation with her in hilarious detail, as they had apparently tried to guess her occupation after only shaking her hand. Neither of the girls could agree with one another, and Liz had refused to just tell them. However, the drive to your hotel was only so long. Eventually, your group arrived. You yawned and got out of the car when it stopped. Cove clambered out after you. Liz gave a loud sigh of relief at all the extra space she found herself with. You and Cove grabbed the luggage and then waved off your family after you said your goodbyes. After they left, you and Cove went to go find your room. You scanned the key card to unlock your hotel room. It sounded out a soft beep as you turned the handle of the door. The door creaked open, and then you craned your head in to take a look. The first thing you noticed was the large king-size bed in the middle of the room. It was a prim, modern-looking space. It seemed clean and smelled faintly like floral air freshener. A smile played in Cove's face as he watched you take in the space. The bed's nice, huh? Which one of us is going to use it? I think we both will use it. You burst out laughing. You glared at him. Are you serious? Here we go again. Me, you can fend for yourself. You stared blankly at him. I'll say, are you serious? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I want to share, really. Good. Cove let out a breath in relief that he'd been holding on to. I got a good hotel, didn't I? Yeah, you picked out a nice one. It's passable. I guess we'll manage. Thanks for handling this. I'd say it's nice. It's the same hotel I would have picked on my own. It makes sense you'd go for this one. It looks like your room at Kyra's place. You nodded wordlessly for approval. I'll say it makes sense you'd go for this one. Looks like your room at Kyra's place. Cove pouted exaggeratedly. Well, that room was like a good hotel room, so that means this is a good hotel room. I wasn't knocking it. I meant it as a compliment. You and Cove continued to chat as you settled in. You unpacked some of your stuff and checked out all the room's amenities. Cove pointed out the mini fridge and started puzzling over what food could be ordered to the room. However, the fact was, you both were exhausted. It didn't take too many yawns before you both exchanged your pajamas and called it a day. You had to hunt along the wall to locate the light switch. When you finally found it, you flicked it off with a sense of triumph. You turned your head over to Cove, who stood behind you in his pajamas. He was cozy and comfortable, but the pieces didn't match. He never minded that. We should get some sleep. Cove smiled, a soft expression that was adorable.
All right.
Okay, let's go to sleep. Despite saying that it was bedtime, Cove took a step forward towards you. He wrapped his arms around your back, and you leaned into his embrace. Then he lifted you off your feet. What? Still not putting you down, Cove promptly dropped himself backwards. The both of you crashed into the tight, tucked sheets of the hotel bed. He laughed the entire time. Cove bounced to the landing and absorbed most of the impact. You laid on his chest, feeling a little jostled. You giggled alongside him. You're an absolute madman, you teased. You could have warned me. That was scary. Let's do it again. You swatted his shoulder for that. Let's do it again. You felt like a kid who just ridden a roller coaster and had to get right back in line. That was the kind of thrill you lived for. He smiled up at the ceiling, a thought clearly crystallizing. My dad used to do that kind of thing to me when I was little. Sort of. Nostalgia was clear in his voice. It was a fond memory, and you felt something warm in your chest. I remember you talking about it when you stayed over at my house as a kid. He'd lift you up really high and bring you back down. Yeah, I have a cool dad. You made a small noise of understanding that turned into a yawn. When Cove yawned in return, you pulled at the sheets until you were actually under the blankets. Good night, Cove. Night. Don't let the bug bites bite. Sweet dreams. You stuck your tongue out in playfully. Hey, so do you know why pigeons are called pigeons when they're actually doves? Cove blinked at your random tangent. You yawned and continued talking, your sleepy brain happy to info dump. Pigeon actually used to refer to a young cheeping bird, not a species like it does now. Cove nodded along as you continued, seeming interested despite the random topic. By the time you finished, he was watching you intently. Then you kissed his lips, then you kissed his nose, then you kissed his forehead, then you ruffled his hair, then you pinched his cheeks, then you kissed his lips. You shifted yourself closer so that you could lean in. You kissed Cove and felt his lips perk into a smile before kissing you back, obviously enjoying his goodnight kiss. Cove wrapped his arms around you and snuggled next to you. He let out a contented breath. You reached out to hold Cove under one arm and then used your other hand to comb through his hair. The two of you relaxed into one another, and you knew neither of you would want to be anywhere else. I can't believe we're really here. You and Liz and everyone else are going to be here in Sunset Bird again. I was staring at all the scenery going by while we were driving here, and it honestly felt like we never left. He ran a hand down his face. I mean, in some ways, it feels like it's been ages and everything's different. Some of that is definitely because I'm staying at a hotel instead of being in my room at Dad's. But yeah, I definitely would love to make it a point to go back to the neighborhood that I grew up, because I remember it so vividly, and I'm sure it would just give me a flood of nostalgic memories, because it's been a while since I've gone back to, at least where I lived while I was in elementary school, which is like my earliest memories of my life. I miss my old house. Like I love the places I've been to since I've lived at since. But there's something about the house that the first house that you ever remember. For me at least, it just takes me back to some really fond memories. It's so weird. It feels natural to me. I don't even know how I feel. It's exciting. I just hope things go away. Go okay. You couldn't even put anything you felt into words. It's exciting. Cove nodded. He understood completely. I'm looking... A yawn forced an interruption into the statement. Cove was undeterred. I'm looking forward to this. He tucked his head into your neck. You felt his lashes flutter close against your skin. Same here.
See you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow, Hark. His words were a whisper you barely heard. It might not even have been that exactly. You might have just been guessing. Cove always had a habit of mumbling. It was okay either way. Whether you heard it or only thought you heard, the sentiment was true regardless. Cove would see you tomorrow when he opened his eyes and the sunlight returned to your hometown of Sunset Bird. You comfortably drifted off to sleep and eagerly awaited seeing Cove tomorrow as well. Your eyes gently opened to see a dim, unfamiliar ceiling. You recalled where you were, a hotel room. Yawning, your muscles felt relaxed and warm enough that sleep threatened to pull you under again. Morning! Ooh, that's a cute outfit, Cove. Cove's voice brought you back into consciousness. The heat made sense now. You knew the comfortable weight against you was your husband. His arm was draped around you, and his fingers were lightly drawing shapes on your pajamas. You twisted over to face him fully. Morning, did you sleep well? I did. The expression on his face softened with a content sigh. You felt his index finger lightly trace the shape of a heart. There's nothing but good dreams when you're around. You're such a romantic. You squeezed him adoringly in arms. You snuggled against his chest. You played with his hair dozily. Gently, you kissed him. You let a soft breath. You slipped out of bed to start the day. Gently, you kissed him. Eyes half lidden, you reached forward and covered Cove's lips with your own. You exhaled softly through your nose, because, morning breath. Exhale through your nose when you're next to your spouse, and parted for only a fraction to take the air in. I know how it is. Cove cupped your cheek delicately and leaned his forehead into yours. He brushed your skin and his thumb before pressing into a new kiss. Neither of you were making any moves to get up and actually start the day. It was sweet and comfortable to be wrapped up in Cove. You could indulge just a little while longer. Eventually, enough time flew by that there really weren't any minutes to spare. There were too many people waiting, so you both crawled out of the sheets together. Standing up, Cove took a few seconds to stretch. He glanced over at you with an animated expression. I'm really looking forward to your mom's anniversary dinner tonight. It's gonna be fun. I think so too.
I mean...
This whole trip is great, actually. Being here with everybody is like having another chance at being a kid. We can do all the stuff we used to, and all the things we never did but wanted to. Yeah, the world is our oyster, Cove. I do not want to think about being little again. I do. It's good to be back. Sunset Bird won't know what's hit it. You nodded. Sunset Bird won't know what hit it. Cove's mouth curved to a bent smile. He tossed a pillow at you and you caught it. Should I be worried about getting thrown out of town, or worse? Worse? Scolded. Laughing, you squeezed the pillow against your chest. You shook your head. That can't stop us now. Well, we better get back to it, huh? We got a pretty full schedule ahead of us for your mom's big day. You smirked. So much for being a kid, so many responsibilities. I don't think seeing our friends really counts as irresponsibilities, Hark. Fine, you got me there. After that, you and Cove moved around each other, busily getting dressed and ready for the day. Light laughter and chatter filled the air the entire time. Bags were packed and phones were sought after. You suddenly tossed Cove his phone, and when he hadn't been able to find it, you handed Cove his phone when he hadn't been able to find it. You slapped Cove's butt as he stepped past you. I don't think that's what I would do. You somehow lost a single sock, but Cove found behind the headboard. You shook your head at Cove when he ran a hand through his hair instead of brushing it. You handed Cove his phone when he hadn't been able to find it. Thank you. He plucked the phone from your hand and slid into his pocket. You struggled to keep your giggles in, and Cove raised a questioning brow. What is it? I watched you go past it probably 5 times.
Seriously?
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Groaning, he resumed that what he was doing before the phone crisis. When Cove's back was turned, you double-checked that you hadn't misplaced your phone either. You hadn't. There was nothing else stopping either of you now. In minutes, you were hopping into your ride and heading back to the neighborhood. It was another beautiful summer day in Sunset Bird. You couldn't resist rolling the window down so you could absorb it all during the drive. Cove sat across the seat from you, near the opposite window. His gaze was locked outside, catching all the old landmarks the vehicle was passing. Your spirits rose even higher the moment you made it home once more. Eager, you hopped out of the car and let yourself inside. Your moms knew you were going to be there that morning. But the second you made it past the threshold, an excited scream nearly scared you out of your shoes. Hark, you're here! And guess what? I'm here too. Oh my gosh, look at you, Lee! Aren't you cute? I love what you did with her hair. Like, look at her entire vibe, her entire outfit, her hair. She's giving me life. I love it, Lee. While your heart rate settled, a broad grin quickly took over your whole face. Since your cousin moved out on her own, you'd noticed that she really found her own groove. I can see that. She was still the same loving person she'd always been on the inside, but she expressed herself in new ways. Lee was strong, kind, and smart. Over the past few years, she graduated college with a degree in history. Though last you heard, she was pursuing her dreams, working towards getting into the music industry. Like singing? Lee, hey, it's so nice to see you. You look great. Can I get some warning next time you're gonna screech? I'm gonna say, you look great, girl. Thanks. She beamed, putting her hands on her hips. Lee gave you a once-over. I'm not the only one. Aw, shucks. Shaking your head, you laughed at the appraisal. Lee's gaze narrowed with scrutiny. I never considered myself... I was always very self-conscious about how I looked, so I never considered myself a quote-unquote good-looking person. But if I was to give myself some credit, I would say that at this stage of my life, when I'm in my, after graduating from college, in, my late 20s, early 30s, that's probably the quote-unquote best that I've looked, physically at least, best that I've looked. Because by that point, I had sort of outgrown my beanpoleness and actually, had gained some semblance of muscle. But then it went in the other direction. So I'm trying to pull myself back into the leaner years, Don't be modest. I mean it. You look happy. Lee leaned up to the side to glance past you and meet Cove's eyes. The grin on her face widened while she waved. Hi, Cove. Hey, nice to see you, Lee. I got in practically at dawn. It was a whole thing, but at least I made it here alive. Lee exhaled and slumped her shoulders. Wow, look at how tall Liz is. Lee exhaled and slumped her shoulders to emphasize how exhausting the ordeal was. Behind her, Liz made her way over. She crossed her arms at the scene. I'm here too, in case you were wondering. I'm always wondering if you're there somewhere. Nope, I wasn't, but thanks anyway. You merely shrugged. You shook your head. I'm always wondering if you're there somewhere. I don't like any of these. I wasn't, but thanks anyway. You merely shrugged. You shook your head. I'm always wondering if you're there somewhere. Liz lipped twisting into a smug smile. She brushed the stray hair out of her face.
Hey.
You make it sound like I'm always following you around. I have a life of my own, if you weren't aware. I know, but when I'm home, I'm always keeping an eye out for my big sister. Old habits. How sweet. I miss the days of checking to see if someone else made it to the TV first, too. You laughed. Of course that's what her mind would go to. Another friendly shout rang out in the living room. It was as cheery as it ever was from the many times you'd heard it over the years. Please let it be Derek. 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 Good morning, family. Oh, it's Mom. I mean, that's cool too. Your parents. That's cool too. I saw them already though. I haven't seen Derek. Your parents both came out from the side hall together. Morning.
Well?
Now that everyone is here, I do have a little something to mention. Ma put her hand lovingly over her wife's. Mom leaned her head into Ma's with matching affection. We're all still having dinner together, but Pam here actually made plans to take me out to brunch to celebrate our anniversary. Just the two of us. Please, she hooked an arm around Ma's waist.
Sorry.
Sorry to push you out, but I'm sure this group of mature grown-ups will be able to entertain themselves for an afternoon. We don't need to find a babysitter or anything. Totally. Yeah, have fun, moms. Don't worry about it. We can survive that easy. Enjoy your brunch. This works out, actually. An afternoon open means there's time to meet up with Terry and Randy and Derek. Derek, he's in town, right? For our parents' anniversary, right? Hopefully they're free today. Your two friends still lived around the area. They knew you were coming for your mom's party, but when or how you might arrange to see each other wasn't set in stone.
Sounds good.
Definitely, we should call them.
All right.
I have some people I'd like to say hi to as well. Liz had her cell phone in hand, ready to get her plans made before she was even done speaking. Arching an eyebrow, she then directed the next part at Lee. Would you want to come along? I've missed out on a lot of cousin bonding time in the past.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It would be an honor to hang out with you, Liz. And whose fault is that? No fair. Lee's meant to go with me. I hope you both have fun. You nodded. I hope you both have fun. Don't worry. Fun is my specialty. Chuckling, Liz smirked. We'll try not to have all the fun. Don't get into too much trouble. You shook your head and Liz winked. She then glanced back at her phone and rapidly typed a new text. Excellent. It's settled. She squeezed her wife's hand. Her gaze took in the whole room, ecstatic to have the house full again. Today is going to be perfect.
Yes.
I think so too. I truly couldn't be happier with my wife, my children, and our whole beautiful family. It's already a wonderful anniversary. There were awes and sweet comments from the group gathered around the couple for the hour. Seeing how your moms were, you couldn't help but hope that when you got to be their age that you could be as proud of your life as them. After that, you enthusiastically began setting up plans to meet up with your friends. They were both able to see you, having kept their schedules free for this, and you couldn't wait. Cove was also speedily sending text messages. Since you conveyed the plans to Terry and Randy, you imagined that he was letting his parents know about what he was going to be up to. The group continued to chat and catch up until it was time for your mom's brunch and your big meetup with your friends. Soon enough, everyone was out the door, looking forward to their fun-filled afternoons and the dinner later that night. Once outside on the neighborhood street, you looked to Cove. He stood at your side with a bent smile. Terry and Randy were driving to town while you and Cove were traveling on foot to meet them at an easier-to-reach spot. Man, we really are kids in Sunset Bird again, having to rely on other people who actually have cars to really get anywhere. Now we're stuck walking to whatever is nearby. Do they not have Ubers by this point? You laughed. You nodded along in agreement. No, we're reverting back to infancy. We never drive away anyway. You shook your head. No, we're reverting back to infancy. A snort was followed by true laughter from Cove. Teasingly, you pouted. This isn't funny, Cove. I want to be a baby again. I didn't realize you were regressing that seriously. He shrugged, then stuck his hands in his pockets. The thought of being little again made you shiver. I couldn't go back to that. I like being me currently. No, that's not what I was gonna say. I would, no, that's not my attitude at all. If I could revisit being a kid for like a day, for 24 hours, revisit, I would take it. As long as it was only temporary. You laughed. Like the good old days. Cove took in the sunny sky stretching out above the two of you. He shoved his hands into his pockets. Yeah, and at least it's always been a nice walk. And there's always been places to walk too. We could have grown up somewhere with even less around. Cove cracked a grin at that. It wasn't so bad having to rely on your own 2 feet again. Let's go. You bounced forwards several steps and shot Cove a playful look over your shoulder. With that, the two of you began your trip down the old road. It was a casual stroll into town, and before you knew it, you were at one of the large parking lots in Sunset Bird. It was the one that used to have this little crepe stall. Ooh, crepes, well, I was just talking about that. Remembering the delicious smell, you got lost in thought. The store did well enough that it moved into a full-size building a couple of years ago now. You'd seen pictures. It was very cute. I want to go and get some crepes. Check the new place out. The parking lot was now just, well, an empty lot that cars could theoretically park in. Not many took the offer. Cove pulled out his phone, texting Terry and Randy in a group chat to let them know you'd made it. Someone must have answered already because Cove gave you a status update while still staring at the screen. Randy texted, I can see you. Oh, Rick, the blare of a car horn cut you off. You and Cove both turned towards the source of the noise. One of the windows rolled down.
Hey, buddies.
Hey, buddies. Your friends had arrived, making a spectacle of it, as expected. Being the only car meant that they got the pick of the lot, so they pulled to a stop in front of you. The window closed back up, and instead the two front doors popped open. Terry and Miranda stepped out into the pavement. Hi, Cove. Hi, Hark. With a cheer. She's cute. Look, I love the hat and the dress. We all look good. With a cheery wave, we all have a great style of fashion. Miranda skipped towards you. Terry, on the other hand, walked speedily over to Cove, squeezing him into a hug. A quiet laugh escaped Cove, along with the majority of the air in his lungs. He didn't fight the constriction, but instead gave Terry's back a pat with a large grin spreading across his face. Oh, Terry is cute! Oh. When he let Cove go, Terry came right up to you. He held his fist up for you to bump it. You hugged him instead. You fist bumped him. You smacked his fist with a high five to make a turkey. You waved. I'm gonna hug him instead. Sidestepping his fist, you wrapped Terry into a big hug. He held you back tightly, rocking you back and forth excitedly. It felt so nice to have your friend group reunited as adults. You know, it would be even more awesome if that friend group included Derek. Terry was currently a full-time lifeguard down at the busier beach town over. You were proud of him. He had helped a lot of people in his line of work. Miranda took Cove's hand and one of yours in the other. Her eyes alight. She gave you both a gentle squeeze.
So great.
I'm so happy to see you again. Hi, Terry. Hi, Miranda. He answered assuredly. It was clear that he was equally glad to see them. This reunion was long awaited. For a while, Miranda had been working hard as an assistant at a school while continuing her own education. She also kept busy running a small online shop, selling crafted knickknacks she made. Same, it's good to see you too. I missed you. It's been forever. You look so cute, you smiled. I missed you. Miranda's expression softened. She gave your hand another squeeze. I missed you too a ton. Miranda released her hands. Giggling, she eyed you both carefully. So, how have you been?
It's nice.
Things have been nice. Everything is perfect. It's fantastic. I've been doing well. I'm okay. No comment. Shrugged. Everything is perfect.
That's cool.
I can tell. You're sparkling. Standing up straighter, you felt a surge of pride for yourself. You were really happy with where you were in life and where the trajectory seemed like it was taking you. I'm happy where I am in life as well. I have a great job. I have a great family, my kids, my husband. You know, I'm living comfortably. You know, I'm living comfortably. That's really my goal, is to live comfortably. So I'm very grateful for where I am in life right now. And, you know, my health is okay. Definitely has room for improvement, but I'm working on that. I'm really glad for you. What about you? I'm super. Terry sidled up next to Miranda and put his arm around her shoulder, sighing dreamily. Randy chuckled up at her boyfriend. Yeah, things have been unbelievable. He pressed his cheek against Miranda's, and she let out a slight squeak. The sight put an amused grin on your face. Your friends made a wonderful couple. They knew each other well and cared about each other so much. It was no shock at all when you heard the news that they'd started dating. I wasn't really surprised. The corner of your mouth curled playfully while you took in the warm welcomes all around. At times it was still kind of funny how your group of 4 friends evolved to 2 couples. Not that you were complaining about it, you thought it was an amazing thing. Cove then pulled his phone out and peeked at the screen. He repeated the motion every so often. You raised a curious eyebrow at his unusual behavior. Cove was too focused on whatever he was doing to even notice you noticing him, which was even stranger.
So...
Is there anything either of you want to do while we're here? Any place you'd want to see? The new crepe shop. Food. Food. Always food. I'd be up for a lot of things, but actually there is something that I want to do right here. Crepe shop food. Oh yeah, what's that? Terry poked at Cove's arm playfully. Miranda met your eye, silently asking if you had any idea what Cove was talking about. You shrugged. I just want to see my friends. Huh. Cove, you're already doing that.
Well...
Yes, you could do so much more than that too, Cove. We don't have to be mutually exclusive from the food. True, but I could be doing it even more. You, Terry, and Miranda all turned to Cove with identical incredulous expressions. His stare moved to a point past you 3, and you heard the scrape of sand and gravel underfoot. Someone else stepped into the parking lot. Startled, you jumped at the call of the warm voice shouting over.
So, guys and gals?
Yes! Yes! Okay, this beats the crepe shop. Hands down. Hands down beats the crepe shop. Oh, Derek. Oh. Derek, excuse me.